A look at the Asia-Pacific economies. Chief economist for Asia at Deutsche Bank, Michael Spencer, joins us this morning. Michael, it's been a while, as I said, we haven't seen you for a bit. So let's, I guess, catch up on what you think of the Asia-Pacific right now. We'll start off with China. What about that? Which number are you looking at most closely for?
Well, the most important number in China is the credit numbers, which we won't get till later in the week, probably Saturday officially. Because essentially nothing happens in China without a loan, for all intents and purposes. So if you're trying to get a lead onto where we're going in the next couple of months, you want to look at the credit numbers.
Yeah, okay.
In terms of today, what we'll get is inflation is the key number, because that will reinforce the idea that the central bank has room to cut rates, one or two more times at least. And IP will tell us whether they feel they need to. Now, I think we probably will see that the data support the idea that the economy has bottomed out. Year-on-year growth, I think, during the course of Q3 will start to lift. So I'm looking for numbers today that are going to be mildly positive.
Mildly positive, okay. So what are you expecting for CPI? I mean, if it's below 1.7%, is that mildly positive, or just staying in line?
That would almost begin to be worrying. 1.8% is where we are. Now, if you look through the numbers, what you've seen, an economy grown 7.6% over the last year, and core inflation is evaporating.
Okay.
The headline number is being driven by food disinflation. We have base effects. This time last year, inflation prices were rising more quickly month on month. So this inflation rate will start to rise by the end of the year. We'll be back above 2%.
Right. Would you say that the trade data tomorrow is probably more important to you than the reports today? No?
No. I mean, China is not, like most of Asia, an export-dependent economy. Today's number that matters the most will be IP. If it supports the idea that growth is beginning to lift, that's a very positive signal.
Yeah, it's still in double digits, though, with electricity use flat. Any questions there on the reliability of the figures?
Actually, if you regress electricity growth on GDP growth, you would be expecting to see higher GDP growth rates. That story, I think, is wrong, the idea that the electricity numbers are giving us a better read on the economy.
Okay. Let me ask you, as an economist, Michael, I mean, are you closely watching this case that's taking place in China with Guo Xilai and Gu Kailai?
It's not so much his wife in particular. The question is whether it is indicative of a deeper discord within the current and future Politburo Standing Committee. I'm of the view that it doesn't. I think this is a case of Guo Xilai was a bit of a rogue, and the concern was they wouldn't be able to control him if he had been promoted. When you have a consensus-based decision-making system, and you have one member of that group that is going to the public to make his decisions for him, essentially, that's dangerous in the Chinese context. So I think he had to be taken out just for the sake of continuity or this sort of solidarity at the top.
So this is an isolated case, because some people are basically extrapolating, well, maybe this is an indication as to a disagreement within the top nine Politburo members.
There is this risk that the two factions at the top are beginning to fight, and we'll see more relatively senior people purged like this. My view is that that's probably less likely.
Okay. So China, you think, is doing okay then, given that you're expecting some mildly positive economic numbers later on today? What kind of growth rate are you expecting for the third quarter? Because some say the third might be worse than the second.
It conceivably could. If you look at sort of base effects and try to figure out seasonal adjustments, I think Q3 growth is going to be around 7.5% plus or minus. So it could be very slightly higher or very slightly lower than Q2. Q4 should be considerably stronger again.
Okay, and best place economy across the Asia-Pacific, leave me with that on this Thursday.
The strongest performing economy in Asia today is the Philippines.
Yeah, is safest as well?
Safest. It's historically at least been very less dependent on the US and Europe, although what's really driving growth today is exports, surprisingly enough, for them.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? I mean, don't we have a slowdown taking place in Europe and the US?
Well, it seems to be exports to Japan. I suspect there's something of a Japan outsourcing after the earthquakes last year, the Philippines. They suddenly have discovered $1 billion a month almost in exports in the last 2 or 3 months.
Suddenly discovered it.
For them, it's huge.
Yeah, and it's reflected in the share price as well in the stock market. Michael, good to see you.